Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Women on Top podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Lynn, and with over 15 years of business experience, I became truly passionate about finding ways to support and hear from way more women. And what we know to be true is that women thrive when they are in their favorite position, on top in business, in relationships, in personal growth, and on top in being real and authentic to who the hell they are. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy the Women on Top podcast. Well, welcome back to the Women on Top, everybody. I have been looking forward to this episode all week, this conversation all week long. And today's guest I have sitting here with me is Olivia Burnett, who is the creator and the phenomenal host of the 20-something podcast, which really has become kind of this, I want to say, like a group chat for anybody who is like navigating this defining decade, and honestly, anybody who's navigating just the challenges of life. She really brings this idea around like real talk and honesty. She speaks about, and to those who are like the dreamers, overthinkers, people who are just kind of figuring it out. And I just love that she highlights people who are kind of in that messy middle, and that we get to listen to conversations that are just so authentic. Olivia also has really built this community around kind of reminding young women that they don't need to have it all figured out to be exactly where and who they are supposed to be. So as you can imagine, she is the epitome of a woman on top. And I'm just so excited to welcome her here today. Olivia, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, Valerie, that was so kind of you. Thank you. I am honored and grateful to be here.
Yeah, I'm really just excited to dive into your story and your journey. I love talking to other podcasters.
Right. It's so fun. We can just gab.
Yeah, I know. We already started gabbing, and then I was like, hold on, we need to hit the record button here.
Right.
So I really want to know, of course, like take it back to the beginning. I'm just wondering, when you were starting this 20-something podcast idea, was there something going on, or like what was happening in your life at the time where you had this thought that this was something you wanted to bring to the world?
It's such a good question. I think looking back, maybe a couple years before I started the podcast, I had always had this plan for my life. I feel like that's a pretty universal feeling. And we put these like deadlines on when we're going to have these certain goals kind of drop into our lives, right? And I remember being asked, I think at the time I was like 14 or 15, at what point I was going to be, simultaneously a millionaire and married with, however many children and like all of these things. And I remember saying like, oh, by 30, for sure. Like for sure. If I'm being slow about it by 30, And so
if I'm being slow about it, I love
like,
that.
if I'm waiting and taking my time, right? And then it's like I like to refer to it as like an unteachable lesson, where it's something you don't really learn until you are experiencing it. It's like, one of those phrases where people will be like, oh, enjoy your time in high school, or enjoy your time in this phase because you're never getting it back. And when you're in that stage, it's like, oh, please, but then you get past that stage and you're like, wait, I should, like, they were actually right, And so I think this idea of not hitting these goals by the time I was 25 or whatever it was, I really struggled with that. And simultaneously in my 20s, I lost my dad to cancer really quickly. And it led to this really difficult bout with depression that I had. So I got to this really low point where I just felt very much like a failure.
Yeah.
Which, looking back, I'm like, it's so silly because I was 25 years old and I'm feeling like a failure with my whole life in front of me, right? And so as I was battling that and trying to work through that, I became connected with a lot more people in my life who were dealing with similar things. I don't know if it's when like you're vulnerable and sad in your own life that then you open up conversations with like other people who are struggling too.
Yeah.
But I just started to realize that what I was experiencing was very, very universal for most people, right? And that these like identity crises and mental health and not knowing what you want to do with your life is such a universal feeling. And I just wanted to create a community and a place where
Mm,
everyone like feels seen, you know,
mm,
where whether you're feeling on top of the world or like the bottom of the pit that day, that there's like common ground
yeah.
there. Because I think there's a lot of power in, even though like we can't always provide like the magical answers we're looking for, and just knowing that like a lot of people are feeling the exact same way that you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that how you're trying to kind of connect those dots for other people and give that softness that like, oh, I can kind of like breathe a little better now because I
Yeah.
know I'm not unique in this struggle. I'm wondering, do you think that you would have gone through this had the situation with your dad not happened?
Mm.
Or do you think you would have just kept charging forward toward millionaire status?
I mean, I don't know, but it's such a good question. Honestly, no, I don't think so, because I had this air almost of like I would set a goal, and then oftentimes I would achieve that goal. I'd work really hard, and I think I had this air almost of not necessarily untouchable, but just I thought that I was really capable of dealing with anything that came my way. And it was like the first thing that truly like knocked me down, like knocked the wind out of me, like a gut punch
Mm,
feeling. I didn't know like how to deal with it. I didn't know how to cope with it. And I think I was really unprepared
hmm,
to go through it. So,
yeah. What, now sitting here, you have the podcast. You've been through this journey, probably still going through it in different ways, I would imagine.
yeah.
I mean, it's a silly question to kind of say like, what do you know now? But I guess, from where you sit, what are some of those things where you're like, gosh, I did actually have to go through this to realize XYZ? Like, what are some of those lessons that have just
Yeah.
kind of also maybe hit you across the face?
Good way to phrase it. Yeah. I think we as human beings, we cling so much to like certainty, like outcomes, knowing,
Yeah.
I'm in control of these aspects of my life. And that's a very natural thing. I do not think that is wrong at all.
Right.
But one of the lessons that really hit me across the face, like you said, was the power of uncertainty. And I think if I could narrow down like one lesson of your 20s where I'm like, this is actually your superpower, I would say it's being able to sit in uncertainty and being
Mm,
able to explore and be curious when you're in that stage. And the hard part of it is you can't really learn that unless you're in a place where you're super uncertain, which is really uncomfortable.
yeah.
But, like, those moments of uncertainty, they're actually, like, I think the times you're the most alive because you're
Mm,
not coasting. Everything matters so much more to you, like, your resources you have, the connections you have, the dreams that you have, like, you hold them so much closer to you in times where you're feeling unstable and uncertain, and I think we underestimate, like, the energy and the power that we get in that time, like, to invest in some of those areas of our life.
so well said. I'm reading a book called Life in the Happens in the Transitions or something like that. I might be
Yeah,
butchering the title
I've
just
heard of
slightly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about what you're talking about, where something happens and you're uncertain and you're at this kind of crossroads and feeling completely out of your comfort zone, putting it lightly. And then that's where life happens. That's where growth happens. That's where like you look back and you look at the divorce or you look at the layoff or you look at the death or whatever has happened. And you're like, gosh, but that was such a pivotal moment for me to learn all of these crazy lessons that I had to learn. So I think you said that so well. The thing that I'm wondering about is, you're talking about like these goals and I'm laughing because I so resonate, right? Like they grill you in school, like, what do you want to be? Here's a aptitude
Right.
test. Like maybe you should be a doctor, whatever. And you think you're going to be married with 2.25 kids and have a white picket fence and millionaire status by the time you're 25.
I
And I'm
know.
wondering like, where does that come from? And like, why are we This
wired
is
that
opening a
way.
yeah. Why
Right.
aren't we allowing people to kind of, especially in their 20s, say, actually, don't know what you want? Maybe don't.
Right? I know. I have spent so much time researching that idea of like where does it come from? And
Yeah.
one study suggested that it actually is something that is instilled to us just by the way that our school curriculum is, where it's like I go to
Um,
kindergarten, then I have summer, then I go to first grade, then I have summer, and it's just like this constant like
yeah.
milestone, and then I graduate elementary school, and then I graduate middle school, and then I do whatever, and it's like, and I would actually argue I got my master's after I graduated, which is something I'm so grateful that I did, but I think a lot of that for me was like, okay, I got my bachelor's, check.
Now, mm,
Now I get my master's, check, and like it just was this milestone kind of thing that I had. Other studies that I've read suggest that it has a lot to do with like literally our geographical environment. So if you're part of a religion or what people around you value, and you grow up seeing either like religious leaders or people in your family that have certain goals by certain ages. And so then you put those on yourself, seeing it that way. But one of
mm,
the most powerful questions that I've found in studying all of this is just asking yourself, it's so simple, just these milestones that you have, what I encourage people to do is write them out. Like, I expect myself to be this. I expected myself to be this at this age. And then identify where each of those came from. Is that something that you put on yourself? Is it something
mm,
that society put on yourself? And then see if they actually align. Like, see if that actually feels like something that you want to do. Like in Utah, where I'm from, people get married super early. And I remember when I hit like 22, which is so young, I was like, oh no, I'm not married. And now, like
wow.
looking at it, it's like, I didn't even want to be married at
Yeah.
22. And I was having this like internal crash out about a milestone that I didn't even want to hit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Um, what are some of the expectations maybe now that you have for yourself? And do they differ? And how do they differ from expectations maybe you had when you were 22?
Yes. Oh my gosh. They differ so much. You know, it's interesting. For me, I actually have like taken away age markers completely. And that doesn't work for everyone. Nor do I think that it should. But for me, I've set these goals, and it's more based like in the next 3 years, I want to do this. And in the next year, I want to do this. And a lot of them actually are more goals of like traits I want to develop versus
Mm,
like mile markers I want to hit. And it's like, obviously, I still have those. Like, with my podcast is a great example, right? Like, building a literal business, you obviously have like number goals and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just have found a lot more grounding for myself in, I actually picked 5 core values that, like,
mm,
at the end of the day, I'm like, I always want those to be Olivia. And I like really try to ground myself in those every day. And I just have found that I'm a lot happier and actually a lot more open to possibilities and opportunities than I was being like, well, I have to be a millionaire by 30.
mm.
And it just is a stifling mindset versus like this abundance. I'm gonna look for opportunities that maybe I didn't think of, and I'm gonna connect with people that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. Things like
Yeah. Why do you think you wanted to be a millionaire besides the obvious reasons of like buying a boat? But,
no.
what?
Yeah. Again, it's interesting. My dad was laid off for a few years when I was young, and we kind of had some money struggles. And so I think for me, that maybe came like, oh, that's safety. If I'm a millionaire by 30, then like I'll be safe and I'll be happy.
Mhm.
But then you look at it and you're like, is money a direct correlation of being happy? For some people, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's parts of it for sure, right? But that's a perfect example of what I was saying, where it's like sometimes we place these goals and things on ourselves that we really want. And it's like, well, where did that actually come from?
Yeah. And would that make me fulfilled at the end of the
Yeah.
day? But
Yes.
it's
Because I
so
think there's a
hard.
difference between happy and fulfilled.
Hmm. It's so hard though to unravel that, I think. At least it has
Yeah.
been for me of like, okay, I want to be whatever famous, right? And thinking of like, oh, but why do I want that? And actually, it's like, of course I don't. Like that's not truly fulfilling because you look at all of these people who arguably are famous and arguably are some of the least happy people on the planet. But
Yep.
for my ego, it's so hard to like undo that and to actually do what you're talking about, which is how do I set my core values and how do I make those my goals versus some sort of, I don't know, metrics, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I wonder if you've found that to be true too. And are you ever like butting up against your own ego still to this day where you're like, ooh, I have to check myself there and like look at this a little differently?
Absolutely. I think it goes back to kind of what I was saying about the uncertainty. One of my favorite quotes says, "A mind that can sit with uncertainty is more valuable than one that demands certainty." And I think to what you're saying, it's like we have these desires, right? Like, I want to be famous. I want to be a writer. I want to be an athlete, whatever it is. And I think saying like you shouldn't feel that way is completely unrealistic, one, and also two, like wrong, right? But being able to, like you were saying, with like those core values and just sit in this place of, I'm not really sure what my future holds. I don't know if I actually will be that professional athlete. I don't know if I'll be a famous singer or actress or whatever. But I can look at myself in the mirror every day and really like who I'm becoming. And I really like who I am. And I'm open to the possibility that, like, yeah, maybe that dream that I'm chasing will happen and that would be awesome. But maybe there's
Mm,
some other things that I haven't even considered yet that would like make my life so beautiful and rich and fulfilled and happy.
yeah.
And that would be amazing as well.
Yeah. But you have to be open enough. And to your point, like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes if we're so driven by the thing, whatever it is, like fame or money or whatever, we're a little more closed off to like allowing this joy or allowing some of the beauty and the uncertainty of like opportunities that might show up and, really making sure that we're aligning to like, gosh, but, is this something that maybe could lead me in a beautiful direction and not be closed off to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I wonder as you're talking, like, gosh, is it harder, do you think, for women specifically to kind of go through this like redefining of their life to kind of, I don't know, look at this in the way that you're describing? Because, and I ask that because I feel like so few women that I know actually talk about this.
Oh, so real. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, "Oh, Valerie, you're opening." I could give like a
Bring
soapbox
it.
about
Yeah.
this. Like
Bring the whole soapbox.
being a woman figuring this out is insane because have you ever heard of the tall girl theory?
No.
Okay,
I,
I am like obsessed with this theory and a lot of people don't like it and I understand why, especially a lot of men don't like it and I get that. But I like feel like it's really validating as a woman where so the tall girl theory basically explains that for generations, like the more recent generations and years, women have been told like you need to be more educated, you need to be more self-sufficient, you should be making more money, like you need to be more like stand on your own, right? And so women, being women, we like actually went out and did that.
yeah.
Like more women than ever today are making more money, are more educated, like are also like not married later in life. Like there's so many of these areas.
Yep.
And basically what the tall girl theory says is that women also have this like innate need most of the time to be with a partner who like makes them kind of be able to settle into their femininity, to like lean into like, feeling safe and cared for and protected and provided for. And so as women are raising the bar, the threshold of men that we're dating is also like being raised. And that's a smaller pool of men. And so it's
Yeah.
this really interesting dichotomy that women are finding themselves in of like, I'm like developing more as a human being than like we ever really have as women. And so sometimes it feels like the opportunities are like hindered because of that. And it's such an interesting thing that I truly think this generation of women is like paving the way, figuring it out, where it's like, okay, we went out and we did what all of you guys said to do. But now we're like also facing all of these new like roadblocks and challenges because of that. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I totally I can understand the theory and it does make sense. I'm wondering if you're running into that specifically, like, I don't know if you're in the dating pool, but like, are you kind of running into this like real time tall girl theory? Like, what are some specific examples if you have any?
Yeah, I am in the dating world and definitely like it's just tricky. I think it's yeah, it's just tricky where I feel like I've also had to reevaluate my standards in dating where it was like things that I used to value, I don't value as much anymore. And I've really kind of pivoted the things that I'm looking for, similar to what I think I've done with myself of like these core values that I try to have that I like align myself with rather than going on dates and being like, okay, well, does he check off like this money box and does he check off the height box and does he check like all these kind of like surface level boxes? I've tried to be a lot more focused on like, well, who is this person and what does he value and what kind of human
Yeah.
being is he and how does he treat other people?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's tricky. I don't know
I
if
love
you're
that.
married or dating, but dating is tricky.
It is. I have been married before. I have dated all kinds of anyway, but I
Yeah.
will say to your point, I'm with somebody, we've been together almost 5 years, and I met him traveling during the pandemic, and I had made a list very similar to what you're talking about. And they were all traits, nothing about physical. Like they were all like about family values and like spirituality and that I want, travel is a value, like different things. And when I say that he meets all of those, but when he showed up, like not the look I was expecting.
Right. And I've had
Not the
so
look. Yeah.
many women friends who would say something similar. It's
Wow.
but I think as women too, it's cool. At least maybe this is an umbrella statement and I'm not trying to loop anybody in here, but I feel like I have more women friends who were like initially not super attracted to their partner, but then like became very attracted to them as they like got to know them. I don't
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? It's like, okay, let me get, I don't know, you got to be the right kind of character and let me get to know you. And then eventually, like, okay, the attraction's there. But I
yeah.
don't, maybe that's a really, I would be curious what the surveys say about that or like, research
Yeah.
says about that. But
I don't know. I don't know how that would change, but
I wonder with all this beautiful work that you're doing, and you have so many, I feel like so many amazing stories that you invite onto your platform. I know you had like this recent episode of a dad who I think became like a widower and a father maybe on the same day.
yeah.
And okay, first of all, I'm curious, like, how are you finding these types of stories and what is it that you're eh, kind of attracted to about the story and what are you hoping to like give them the space to be able to share with
Mhm.
the world?
Such a good question. Yeah. No, that guest, his name is Aaron Martin. And just to like really add the cherry on top, it was Valentine's Day, like when that happened, which is just
Whoa.
so unfair. Like, and I have never met anyone who deals with something with like more grace and faith and hope and love.
Yeah.
It's just, it's mind blowing to me, hearing stories like that. But to answer your question, I think one of the things I was looking for the most when I was really struggling is I would like, doom scroll and I was hoping to find someone who was going through something similar that I was, just to be like a beacon of hope and light to me like okay, someone else out there is dealing with this. And kind of like you said earlier, I really want my podcast to feel like the messy middle, right? Where it's like I bring on some guests who are in their 60s and 70s and very successful in terms of business or family, and they share like these really awesome life lessons. And then I bring on people like Aaron, who had the most devastating thing happen to him 4 months ago. And it's just like, I don't really know, but this is this is what I'm doing. And I've always hoped that like the wide scale of guests can be like like I want all my listeners and the community to feel like it's very accessible and relatable.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of power in saying like this is what I'm going through. I don't really know what's going to happen, but like I'm trying.
Yeah.
'Cause it gives other people, like, the inspiration to try, and the other part of your question is it's actually been really shocking to me, like, in having, like, built, this platform that's really new. I've only been doing it for about 8 months. How many people will reach out to me? Like, how many courageous people there are out there in the world who like, Aaron is a perfect example. He reached out to me, and I just was so dumbfounded that someone who had gone through this just a matter of months ago just loved his wife so much
Mm.
that he just wanted to tell people about her. Like that was the whole goal. Is he was like, I just loved Natalie so much. And I feel
Wow.
like by sharing her story, it's like honoring her and like loving
Mm.
her. He's amazing. His story is amazing.
Yeah. That episode. You kind of have started to answer it, but I was just thinking about like, gosh, what has, for example, his grief taught you about yours?
Ooh, what a good question, Valerie. It's the only thing I feel like I've learned about grief is that it is just the most raw expression of loving someone.
Mm.
Like, it's so up, it's so down. Sometimes you're, like, suffocating, sometimes it feels lighter, but, like, more so than anything else, it's just an expression of losing someone that you really, really, really love. It's like all this love that just doesn't really have anywhere to go.
Mm. That's one of the best definitions I think I've heard of grief. I feel like
Oh,
that's
thanks.
such a great way to describe it. And you're so right, like these waves and ebbs and flows. And it's just like, where do we place this? And
Mhm.
how do we allow it to show up? And it's kind of part of who you are as well.
Yeah.
I It makes me think about your dad, and I wonder what might he think about your podcast, would you say?
Oh, you know, my dad really was the kind of dad that when, like, he told me I was gonna be president when I was 10 years
Ah,
old, I really believed that I actually would, you know?
yeah.
He just knew that I could like, he just always believed in me more than I ever, I think, believed in myself, and so I think that, I actually think of him fairly often on days where I'm feeling a lot of doubt or I'm feeling a lot of
Mm.
discouragement. Um, he was just my biggest cheerleader. I think he would always just tell me that, like, it's making a difference and to keep going, and I'm sure you relate to that as a podcaster, like, some days you feel so motivated and other days you're like, "What am I doing?"
Totally.
And, yeah, it's just he, like, has really become an anchor for me, like, on days where my self-doubt is low. I just imagine what he would say to me if he was here, and it helps me keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that he's kind of it seems like a core pillar of actually why you started the show. I mean, if
Yeah.
not like the primary reason. Um, and it also makes me think about, at least for me, being a podcaster, there's so much more to it than people just think like, oh, you just like to talk. Like, that's cute. You
Right.
have a podcast.
Right.
Yeah, all right. But there's so many lessons learned and so many things that it provides for me. And I
Mhm.
feel like far beyond whatever the downloads are, whatever, I have just felt something in my soul with who I connect with, the messages that come out of it, seeing people get like regrounded into their why and their purpose. And something happens in that interview process. And I'm curious for you, what has kind of, yeah, that podcast experience, like what has that done to your soul? What has it kind of evoked in you that maybe you weren't expecting? You're just like, I'm going to start this. This seems like a great idea, a good connector of hearts. And now, you know, how has it helped shape you?
Oh, it's such a good question. And I feel like I just resonate so deeply with what you're saying. I've thought so many times, like, if not a single person ever downloaded this podcast, the benefit that I have had as a human being is phenomenal. It almost is maybe this is silly imagery, but this is kind of how I've thought of it is it's like every guest that comes on my podcast, I almost think of us as like I don't know why this is what comes to my mind. It's like an army, like a battalion, and it just keeps adding and growing. And it's been really interesting to me, times where I've really struggled, conversations that I've had with various guests will like come into my mind. And it's this like it's been surprising me how deep of a connector and motivator it's been of like, oh, this is really hard and I'm feeling really lonely. Oh, but when Lo was on, she was talking about this, and I know she's feeling this way. And maybe she's feeling that way today and she's still going. So I'm going to keep going. Like it just feels like this like battalion of all of us who are just trying our best in life. And it gives me a lot of camaraderie in moments where I have felt lonely or alone.
Yeah. I love that imagery. Like, I've never actually thought of
I
it
don't
for
know why I
myself,
think that,
but I
but
can I can envision it though.
yeah, right. Okay, that makes me feel better because I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe this is a weird analogy, but
No, for sure. It's like all the connection. And I guess for me, I was thinking of it in a different way, but very similarly. I was like, I always feel like there's like this kind of like invisible thread. Like there's these
Mhm.
invisible connections that just automatically form. And there's this, I don't know, it's like a spiritual relationship that shows up and for this brief moment in time, but then we're connected like, sorry, girl, we're connected forever. No.
Well, exactly. It's like we just all share each other's light and it just gets like brighter and brighter and they go out and touch other people's lives and you have more conversations and it just is this it's just not anything I didn't know before, but it's just like, wow, humans are so resilient and so good. And like we're all just trying our best.
Yes, yes. And you are doing such an exceptional job. I am you you are so wise. Like my mind's kind of blown, but I'm
Oh, you're
wondering like
I don't feel that way all the time, but thank you.
what is something that you're like, I don't know, like real time, like struggling with now? And the reason I ask that is not because I want to like dive into a negative, narrative, but I think it's important to some extent to share like what is just kind of like a real time struggle that's going on because I think people connect with that.
No, that's so, so good. Um
You
I'm
can say-
like, which of the 5 that I'm
yeah.
feeling do
Yeah.
I wanna share? Like, I feel like there's always things. So this is a more recent one. My mom recently got remarried, and I have really been learning, um, what it looks like to, like, open your heart. Like, I mean, kind of what I've been talking about, but, like, new possibilities that way of
Mm,
things that, um you weren't expecting, and in her getting married, she moved to a different place, and so that has been kind of lonely in some ways. It's just
yeah.
been this new chapter, which is so funny because it's like, I feel like what I preach and talk about is like uncertainty and embracing these new things, and they happen, and you're like, "Okay, now that my, like, world is shaking a little bit and it's found me in a new area." It's just tricky. Like, I just think being able to sit with turbulent emotions and not let them, like, dictate your actions,
Mhm.
it's a really difficult skill to learn. It's
What do
one
you
I've
do with yeah.
learned,
And what do
but
you do with those turbulent emotions? Like, how do you personally sit with them? Because I would imagine you have multiple different ways of dealing with it.
yeah, well, I go to therapy, and I think everyone should go to therapy. I love therapy, but
Yeah.
my therapist, I mean, this isn't like anything new. Most people will have heard this analogy, but she just talks to me often like a river, like just letting them come and feeling them and know that they're going to pass and like letting that kind of work and go through me. Because what I was talking about earlier, like being not married in my later 20s and having to like stand alone and kind of like try to pave this way also as like a female entrepreneur. I think there's just so much, especially as a woman, like with society standards, like there's just a lot of self-conscious feelings and a lot of lonely, isolating feelings. And so it's just trying to find like confidence and like appreciate the beauty that you have
Yeah.
as a woman. And it just is tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so real because it really is tricky. And so many of the lessons, like what you were saying, it's like, oh, I talk about this stuff all the time. And sometimes I feel silly because I'm like, oh, well, then why am I struggling with it right here, right now?
Right.
Because I just got done sharing this like piece of advice earlier about whatever, how to like handle
Yes.
challenges. And here I am like dealing with it. And so I think it's helpful. And that's why I kind of asked the question is just to hear, like, look at how put together you look and look at how awesome your podcast is.
Yeah.
You're having these amazing conversations. Then it's like, okay, you're dealing with something that like real time is a challenge for you. And it's kind of just good
Yeah.
to know that it's not so easy.
No,
Just,
it's not. I think it's just, and it's also like as you're going through all these challenges, like staying soft, right? And like staying
mm,
open. Like I think going back to dating, like
that's
as
hard.
I've like gotten into, more like seeing the same guys for a little bit of time, it's like, oh, maybe I do have commitment issues. Maybe I do like all of these things, right? Where it's like just trying to stay like being a soft place to land for yourself and for others through it all. Like, but
Yes.
I will say, like, talking to other women like you and hearing what you're doing and seeing what you're doing, it does give me a lot of, I think, inspiration and strength just of like, there's all these women that I know and all these women that I don't know, and we're all kind of out here, like this invisible string theory that you're talking about. Just you're connected with so many more people than I think you realize too.
Yeah. I feel like that's what your podcast is largely doing is it's kind of giving because even if we are not being interviewed by you, the stories are the invisible string, the messages, the willingness to open your heart and share pieces of yourself that might not feel pretty and that might feel really ugly at times or dark. I think that actually
Mm.
creates the invisible string as well.
Oh, phrase that so well.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
No, you do. It's like those invisible dark parts are so often what we try to hide when it's like
Yeah.
when you share those, I think it opens opportunity for deeper connection than if you were this perfect, happy, light, doesn't deal with anything version of yourself.
Yeah. This is a cliche question, but I like it. I'm going to ask you anyway.
I'm
What
excited.
would you, looking at your, I don't know, say 12-year-old self now where
Mm,
you are, what would you just want her to know? What would you want to like hug her and just tell her whatever message that would be? What is that?
it's a beautiful question. Did you see that trend going around maybe a few months ago where everyone was posting a video of them or a picture of them hugging their younger self?
Yes. Yes. Uh,
Yes. It was so I did that, and I am not like a super emotional cry person, and it shocked
Same.
me when I looked at that picture of myself. I got so emotional for some reason, just alone in my room by myself, just crying as I'm looking at this picture. Because
I
I
get
feel
it.
yeah, right? Where it's such a powerful it just touched my heart so deeply. And
Mm,
looking at that little, like, version of myself, I simultaneously felt, like, so proud of me, like, for me, which was something I had never really felt before.
yeah.
Um, but then also just looking at that little girl, I was like, "Man, you're so brave, and you're so strong, and you're so good." And the last thing I told my dad before he passed was that I was gonna try to always be brave like he was and to make him proud. And then when that trend came out, a few years after my dad had passed, that was the first moment that I was like, "Oh, like, sweet little Olivia, like, you're so brave." Like, that's not something
Mm,
to try to be, like, you are brave. Everyone
yeah.
should do that trend. It's
Uh,
it's powerful, I think.
that's a really powerful story though too, what you just said, and you were, like, sharing that with him, like, "I want to be brave like you, and I want to make you proud." And it almost feels like what you were also kind of saying is like, and I want to be brave for me and I want to make myself proud.
Yeah.
And that's kind of at least the reflection I was getting by you having that kind of like moment with yourself in that image. So what a beautiful I did not do the trend. So I need to go and like
Yes,
make
you
sure I'm home
should.
alone
It's I
with
know,
a
you're prepared to
bucket of
get
ice
weirdly
cream. No, I'm
emotional. But it's again, I think one of those kind of cliches where it's like we talk so harsh to ourselves. But then even
yes,
if it's like your screensaver is a picture of yourself when you're little, it's suddenly like, who am I to speak to that little girl that way? Like I would
yeah,
never speak to that 12-year-old version of myself that way. You know? So
totally.
why would I talk to myself that way now?
Yeah. Or sometimes I think of like, what advice would she give me now?
Oh.
And like so often it's like
Ooh, what do you think?
she just like wants to play with she's like, I want you to play. Like I want you to have
Mm,
fun. Like I want you to enjoy. Like this isn't so serious.
that's
And
so good.
I it feels like it always comes back to like, oh, of course that's what you want. And like I'm over here trying to chat GPT my way out of every problem in the world.
Right,
You know? It's
right.
like
I
I
know.
gotta listen to that voice, or my 85-year-old self. I go to her a lot too.
Yes. Oh,
And
there's
like, what
power in that. That's really I need to remember that. Like, she just wants to play, she just wants to have fun, like,
yeah.
I need to remember
Yeah.
that. That's cool.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's probably like on a deeper level, but that's primarily seems to be the theme lately was like, okay, I need to listen to that. And I have been forcing myself to
Right,
try and like I need
right,
to enjoy differently and just not be thinking of the 9 things I could be doing right now, but actually
right.
like go and just in whatever it is, like have a coffee shop moment or have a, play day on the beach or whatever the thing.
Romanticize
So
your life, yeah. The other kind of saying I
I
love that
love
way
that
that I
saying.
think about sometimes is like, what is if your life was a movie, like, what would the audience be yelling at the screen right now, like, for you? Like, if something you're and that one has humbled
Yeah.
me a lot too, where it's
What do you
like,
think they're yelling at you right
you
now?
know, right now I mean, previously, when I was in, like, a not great relationship, I'm like, "I don't know what they're
Oh,
yelling at me, I just don't wanna do anything about it." But,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But now, I think that it would be, like, truly just, like the 2 words that are kind of, like, my motto right now are just, like, "Hold on." Like, keep going. Just, like, trust the process. You don't have to have immediate results and, like, because again, it's what I talk about all the time, but it's hard to not compare myself against various standards, and so, I feel like I'm in a phase of my life right now that's just very much like, "Hold on, and keep working hard, and keep dreaming, and keep going."
Mhm. Yeah, and enjoy the ride as you hold on, right? Like,
And
hold
have
on
fun,
tight.
don't forget to play, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I love that. I wonder to kind of, as we start to wrap this up, imagine if we give you like a megaphone that you can just yell in the ears of all of the 20-something women right now.
Mm,
What do you want to yell at them?
mm. You know, one of my dear, dear friends has been teaching me this lesson lately, and if I could grab a megaphone and yell at everyone, I would just say, "You are astonishing." Like, right now, today, exactly as you are. You are astonishing. There is nothing wrong with
Mm,
you. There is nothing like, you could stay exactly this way forever, this exact moment, and, like, you are enough, and you like, truly, I feel like astonishing is the best word, like, the best way you can phrase it because I think so often our society and everything is so fast paced and it's like, be more, do more, look this way, be fitter, be this, whatever. And it's just like, no, you
mm,
right now today, astonishing, period, end sentence. And that gives you a lot of power if you really believe that about yourself. Like if you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I, Olivia am astonishing, which can be like uncomfortable to say. But when you like really believe that in your core, it like changes your whole life.
mic drop right there. Do you believe it for yourself?
I'm working on it.
Hmm, fair enough. No one has ever said the word astonishing on this podcast, I don't believe. So hats off to that quote, because I'm now going to hold on to that. I love that. I think it's hard to actually believe and because I think it requires a certain amount of letting go and
Yeah.
allowing. And so that's super powerful. So I'm glad that was the message. And I think that would change the world on its axis if women specifically, started to believe that.
Because it's crazy. I mean, I've been talking to you for 45 minutes, and I feel like I could already list 50 ways that I think you're an astonishing person.
Oh,
So then why is it so hard for us to do that about ourselves, you know?
it's vulnerable work. It's
Yeah.
brave work. I feel like, as Brene Brown would probably say.
Bre Love Brene Brown, and I agree. It is brave work for sure.
Yeah. I have a closing tradition on this podcast as we wrap up. So I like to ask the person that I'm interviewing to leave a thought or a reflection or a quote for the next guest, not knowing who it is. So what I'd like to do is read what was left for you and then give you the opportunity to do the same.
Love.
So I have, from the last guest, she said, I love the concept of the fact that the more we like ourselves, the more time we spend with ourselves, and then the more we love ourselves. And then we prioritize ourselves and we stop putting ourselves last. We stop saying yes to things that we want to say no to. We really include ourselves in the work that we do. So many times when we go to help others, but we abandon ourselves in that process. And we don't want to do that. We want to count ourselves in, always count ourselves in. And I really like that message. So
Love
I'd
that.
love to hear if there's, and it can be long, short, anything, but if there's just something that's kind of landing on your heart that you feel called to share with the next guest.
No, that's so good. Well, first off, thank you for that. I think that is a lesson that I'm trying to learn too, and I share with my community a lot, is like spending time with yourself and counting yourself in. And I encourage the community, and I try to do it too, of it's like, take yourself out on dates, do stuff by yourself, like spend time with yourself, because it's so empowering and uncomfortable and important. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thing to leave with the next guest. This has kind of been like a theme of my life the last few months. And it's really simple, but it just says, stop being worried about all the things that can go wrong. There's so much magic in trusting in all of the things that can go right.
Mm.
That would be mine.
I love that. I love that. We forget that. It's so easy, right, to forget that, but it's
Yeah.
an actual miracle that we're all here. And the fact is that magic exists every day. We just have to
Mhm.
remember to pay attention to that. So
That's beautiful. Yeah. And we spend, so much time thinking about what can go wrong. And you have just as much a chance and just as much magic and luck of that same thing going right.
yeah, I love that. Gosh, you are astonishing, truly,
Well,
like,
so are you.
exceptional. I love this conversation so much. I feel like you just have one of the most, like, deep hearts, and your soul is just on a whole different level, and I think you're doing the work that people so need, as you know, but I feel like you're having such a bigger impact than you even realize. And it's not lost on me that you made a choice to be here today, and your time is so valuable. And so I just have to say thank you. I truly do believe that you are a woman on top, and I'm so excited to see what your future holds.
Oh, Valerie, that is so kind of you. I just feel honored and lucky, like just being here, even though, I haven't spoken to any of the other guests on your podcast. It just does feel like this community of women. And I just am so grateful to be a part of the Woman on Top community. And I so appreciate what you're doing. I think just like you said to me, I think you have a bigger impact than you realize. And so thank you
Oh,
again for having me.
thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into the show today. And before you go, I just have one quick favor to ask of you. There is a really simple way that you can help support me and help support this show, and that is to hit that follow button on whatever app you're listening to the show on. I'm trying really hard to level up the content and deliver unique value and amazing guests, and just hitting that follow button is the magic that will help continue to empower that. And remember that the world deserves to hear your voice and your stories, and you deserve a place at the top.